I'm Yanni Moutsios. You're watching One TV News at 5. These are today's top stories. Volodymyr Zelensky urges the international community to take steps to end a Russian blockade in Odessa to allow wheat shipments and prevent a global food crisis. Newly appointed US ambassador to Greece presented his credentials today to the President of the Hellenic Republic, Katerina Sakelaropoulou. Greek inflation skyrocketed in April, according to the National Statistics Authority, reaching a peak of 10.2%, the highest in 28 years. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged the international community to take immediate steps to end a Russian blockade of his country's ports in order to allow wheat shipments and prevent a global food crisis. After the Black Sea port of Odessa was struck by missiles on Monday, Zelensky said that for the first time in decades there is no usual movement of the merchant fleet, no usual port functioning in Odessa. Probably this has never happened in Odessa since World War II. Meanwhile, one person was killed and 5 injured when 7 missiles hit a shopping center and a depot in Odessa, Ukraine's armed forces said. A red siren sounded as the missiles interrupted a meeting between Charles Michel, President of the European Council, and the Ukrainian Prime Minister, Denis Mizhal, forcing them into a bomb shelter. Michel said he saw silos full of grain, wheat and corn unable to be exported. There was no let-up in fighting elsewhere, with Russian strikes on targets in the east and south and a renewed push by Kremlin's forces to defeat the last Ukrainian troops holding out in steelworks in ruined Mariupol. At least 100 civilians remained trapped in the plant, which remained under heavy Russian fire, an aide to the Mariupol mayor said on Tuesday. Full control of the city would allow Moscow to create a land bridge between the Crimean Peninsula, which it annexed in 2014, and eastern regions run by pro-Russian separatists. Coming up next, President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen hails progress made during talks with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban on Brussels' plans for a Russian oil embargo. Ukraine finalized the second part of the questionnaire to acquire the status of a candidate country for EU accession on Monday, with the country's President Volodymyr Zelensky presenting the completed 9-volume thick document to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen during a video call. Kyiv had completed the first part of the EU's questionnaire on membership on April 18th at a record speed of only 10 days, a speed that in Brussels has upped the pressure not to dash the hopes of the country. According to EU officials, the expectation is that the European Commission's recommendation on whether the bloc's leaders should discuss the next steps in the membership process could be drafted by late May and be ready by the end of June. Formally adopting the country as a candidate would be a decision for the EU27, acting on expert advice from the European Commission, which would oversee the complex and potentially lengthy accession process. Kyiv will notably have to meet rigorous standards in governance, fight corruption and apply the rule of law before it could be admitted as a member. Receiving the candidate status, however, is an important milestone, given that for many years Brussels looked the other way when Ukraine, Moldova and Georgia asked to be treated as future EU members, not just associated countries. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, hailed the progress made during talks with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who has so far resisted Brussels' plans for a Russian oil embargo. Landlocked Hungary relies on Russian oil from a single pipeline, and Orban has warned he cannot approve the European Commission's proposed 6th package of EU sanctions against Moscow. The two leaders discussed the issue during a meeting in Budapest. Before the latest talks, Orban's international spokesman, Zoltan Kovacs, compared the sanctions package to an atomic bomb for Hungary's economy. Hungary will not vote for the EU Commission's initiative on sanctions against Russia because it poses a problem for Hungary and does not contain a proposal for a solution, he tweeted. More to come. Newly appointed US ambassador to Greece presented his credentials today to the President of the Hellenic Republic, Katerina Sakelaropoulou. Greek Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed that the embassy in Kyiv resumes its operations following a 2.5-month disruption due to the war in Ukraine. The embassy will operate with limited staff, whereas the General Consulate in Odessa operates in full power. Malonis Adoulakis, formerly the consul in Mariupol, has been appointed to head the embassy in the Ukrainian capital as Charge d'Affaires. The Greek embassy was closed on February 25th, a day after the Russian invasion of Ukraine started. Now, George Chounis, the newly appointed U.S. ambassador to Greece, presented his credentials to the President of the Hellenic Republic, Kateriana Sakelaropoulou, on Tuesday morning. Shortly after the brief special ceremony at the presidential mansion, Mr. Chounis had a discussion with Ms. Sakelaropoulou, where he said he's thrilled to be back in his homeland. George Chounis is a Greek-American and comes from a family that moved to the U.S. He originally comes from Platanos in Navpaktia. Chounis has close relations with the Greek diaspora and he has been one of the founding members of the Hellenic American Leadership Council. He is also administrator of the Hellenic Initiative. Prior to being nominated for the ambassador's post, he was the founder, president and CEO of the Chartwell Hotels, among other important positions he held. He holds a bachelor's degree from New York University as well as a law degree from St. John's University of Law. He has been awarded the Archon Award by the Ecumenical Patriarchate. George Chounis is married with three children. Also on the program, Greek inflation skyrocketed in April, according to the National Statistics Authority, reaching a peak of 10.2%, the highest in 28 years. Greek government has finally received the expected report from the Regulatory Energy Authority on the profits made by energy providers during the period of the energy crisis. The government had previously announced that it will impose a special tax fee of 90% on the extraordinary profits of energy suppliers. Total profits made by wholesale suppliers from October 2021 to March 2022 exceeded 900 million euros based on the findings of the report, provided that this amount is deducted from the sales cost attributed from suppliers to their customers. The total fee does not exceed the 600 million euros. It remains unclear, however, whether the indirect sales that reflect the cost of fixed-price contracts provided by the suppliers will be deducted from the total based on the contracts signed prior to the energy crisis period. The Regulatory Energy Authority report findings show that all companies have suffered losses on the energy provision, especially on retail, which are attributed partially to fixed contracts regarding the high voltage as well as medium and low, which were agreed prior to the energy crisis at a cost significantly lower to the market's prices. The report finds that the cost stemming from sustaining the fixed contracts at low prices set prior to the crisis is termed as indirect deduction towards the customers. Greek inflation skyrocketed in April, according to the National Statistics Authority, reaching a peak of 10.2%, the highest in 28 years. The National Consumer Price Index jumped from 8.9 in March to 10.2 in April, setting a new high. Power supply, natural gas and oil prices have pushed prices at high levels, with an increase 88, 122 and 65% equally. The inflation caused by the energy crisis and the war in Ukraine have made a severe impact both on Greek economy as well as the Greek customers. That's all from us for now. Next news bulletin at 6 o'clock in Greek. Thank you for watching.